Buff Nation, how is everybody doing? Hopefully, you guys are having a great morning. I'm excited to get on here, chop it up with you guys for a little bit. Got some different topics I want to cover, but as always, would greatly appreciate it. Let me know who's listening in the comments. Hit that like and hey, self-promotional plug right now. If you are a Broncos fan as well, trying to get this bad boy David Talks Broncos up and rolling. 14 subs away from being able to live stream, so I would greatly appreciate it. Subbing that if you are interested at all. Going to be coming out with consistent content, more so on a few times a week type of cadence rather than, pretty much with the buffs, I'm talking about every day or, multiple times every day. Right. So anyways, links in the description. Appreciate it. Buddy, what's up? How you doing? Hope your day's going well. But hey, y'all know the news by now. I'm not breaking any news. Jim Harbaugh rather is actually out of there. He's moving on from Michigan. He's going back to California to coach the Los Angeles Chargers. Exciting move for him. Justin Herbert, I think he's a really good quarterback, and now it's about getting the rest of that team up to standard, so they can start winning some games. But hopefully not too many with, my Broncos right there in the division. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about, hey, how does his departure impact Colorado in 24 and beyond? We can talk about that as well. And Coach Kev is getting ahead of me a little bit, saying, hey, can we get a DC announcement? That goes into some of this. So I'll give you guys my thoughts, and then I'll get to some of your comments, okay? Here's how I feel like Michigan should handle this. Being 15-0, the national champions, JJ McCarthy, a handful of their impact players, of course, are going to the NFL. You're not getting there to the national championship if you don't have a lot of impact juniors and seniors, upperclassmen. And so I would assume that maybe you see some other guys declare for the NFL draft, or I guess that window passed earlier this week. So forget that point. But what I would hope that Michigan does is just promote Sharon Moore from offensive coordinator to head coach. I think that's going to help with roster retention. Of course, the portal is open now for the next 30 days or so for players to jump in because they are having a head coach change. But I think promoting from within would help Michigan retain a lot of their players coming back because, hey, at the end of the day, I still feel like this is a very good football team. We'll see what they get from the quarterback position and what changes actually happen on staff. But I'm guessing you'll see this announced in the next 6 days or so. That's my betting favorite, is that Moore is going to be elevated. He was the interim head coach while Jim Harbaugh was serving his lame suspension for Connor Stallions. But here's the kicker. Right now, as things are or expected to be, I don't think you'll see a ton of portal chaos from Michigan. But if Jesse Minter, their defensive coordinator, ends up leaving Michigan as well to join Jim Harbaugh at the Los Angeles Chargers, I think that's when you'll see you could see real chaos ensue, because not only are you losing Jim Harbaugh, you're losing, hey, one of your main guys, your defensive coordinator, the right-hand man on that defense. And that could be crazy if Minter ends up leaving. Now, I guess Jesse Minter could also be promoted. That could also work to head coach. I think that if I was a Michigan fan, that's probably what I would prefer, right? I'm always a big fan of continuity. And it's really going to take something like that, like a big shakeup or a head coach coming in from I think I saw that some people were talking about like the Liberty head coach coming in or the Missouri head coach coming in. But if you're making like a wholesale regime change like that, you could see a handful of guys hit the portal from Michigan. But right now, I'm not expecting that much of a turnover. And I'll let you guys you know speak on how you guys feel about that. But I did want to bring up maybe there's a couple names that we should take notice, from CU's perspective on all this. So I'm gonna try and find the right tab that I got here. Okay. Now, this isn't that exciting. This player is already, though, in the portal for Michigan, and it's not exciting from like a big numbers perspective. But these are the types of players, guys, as we're building this thing at Colorado, we need guys to come in here and do their job, play their role. That might not be anything super special, but you get the job done, okay? We need this type of player, especially being a national champion. Winning team. Okay. Already entered the portal. Matthew Hibner, 6'5" tight end, 254 pounds. Now, throughout his college career, it's not, this is not mind blowing or anything like that. I think he has a total of 2 career targets and catches during his time at Michigan. He had a lot of offers from smaller schools. And a lot of like really smart schools like Ivy League type level as well. And Air Force. He was offered from Air Force out here in Colorado, but ended up going to Michigan. And, he hasn't gotten on the field much on offense, but I would love for us to take a look at him in the tight end room. One, because we have 3 guys right now that are on scholarship. That is it. We got Shimon Mateer coming in from Cincinnati, Louis Passarello, who missed pretty much all of last season due to an injury. And then we have a converted edge that's coming over to play tight end, Savell Smalls. And we have no idea how that's going to work out. So right now we have like one guy that we really can depend on to play tight end, that's on scholarship. Louis Passarello hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's a, big wild card, as well as Savell Smalls. So even if we're not looking at specifically Matthew Hibner, these are the types of guys that I think we might have an easier time getting from Michigan out here. Of course, if things change, there's a new coach coming in there. They got some defensive linemen, some linebackers, that have had production for them over the last, season or two. Hey, let's get this collective put in place to make them some substantial offers. But a guy like Matthew Hibner is a guy that has that NFL type body. I would assume, being at Michigan, this man has been taught how to block incredibly well, which will be beneficial for a Pat Shurmur offense. But the thing that I'm most excited about is special teams. I feel like Rawhide and I are the only channels on here that talk Colorado special teams, and we want to see them improve. This is a guy that I'm bringing in not primarily for offense, theoretically, but to help shore up what we got going on with special teams, because that was an absolute disaster. And we know from Colorado fans, the Newport sales went up last year. Having to watch that unit every week be something that our team had to overcome. So there's a guy that can serve on kickoff return, on punt return, kickoff coverage, like all of that, and graded out, I think, pretty well. Granted, didn't play every single week on special teams, but hey, had some pretty good grades here. 70.5. Mean that 70 threshold is pretty nice. And you can see he made a big jump from 21. Had, a ton more snaps last year in 22. 220 snaps, okay? Had a fantastic special teams grade. This year played 122 snaps. So you're getting a guy that has played 370 career snaps on special teams. Please, can we get somebody like that knows how to do their job, that could come in here and do that? I would love it. Just like in the NFL, you'll see guys signed for doing primarily special teams work, okay? Can we have some guys in here that do that? I mean, that would just be absolutely wonderful. But moreover, like I think perusing the Michigan, Wolverines message boards for like 10 minutes, there is some possibility that you could see some of their, um, defensive guys move on in the portal if there is a wholesale change at the defensive coordinator position, as well, if Minter isn't retained. And so, I mean, I imagine guys like Josiah Stewart or Mason Graham. I don't think either of those guys um, declared for the draft, or Derek Moore, these guys, Kenneth Grant. I would imagine that if they were going to hit the portal, I mean, they're going to be targeted by the top programs right now. So we would have to make a substantial pitch, which we can do. I mean, we got Will Shepherd, for crying out loud, right? So I think we'd have to put together a very strong pitch. And hey, some of y'all don't like to talk about this, but we would probably have to outbid some of these other top programs that are looking to, add those last pieces of depth and talent to make, that college football championship run. So we'll just have to see. But I do think, depending on how this hire goes, I think that more long term, I feel like this has the potential to benefit Colorado. Anytime that you're losing a college football coach like Jim Harbaugh, I mean, he's a guy kind of like Coach Prime or some of these other, in my opinion, legendary college football coaches. They're kind of they're a unique personality, a cult of personality. There's going to be guys that absolutely want to come play for Jim Harbaugh. There's going to be guys that absolutely don't want to come play for Jim Harbaugh. It's the same case for Coach Prime as well. But I think, hey, when college football loses a large personality like that, there is then more potential and more of an opportunity for somebody like Coach Prime to take up a little bit more of that space, in college football. And so I think you could see, this helping our recruiting, in a small way moving forward. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing, like I have said, that's going to help Coach Prime and Colorado recruit better and better year over year is winning more games every year. So let's continue to be focused on that. And to do that, to sum this up, let's get some guys on here that are primarily focused on doing their job on special teams. I mean, wouldn't you love that? So with that being said, I'll get to some of your comments. And we'll get to it. Jason, good to see ya. Y'all go subscribe to Hall of Fame College Football with Jason and the coach. Please do that. We got to connect here again soon. 22 players. Goodness. Hey, and that's what happens when you win a national championship. For sure. Jason saying Minter's gone for sure. So if that happens, man, maybe Colorado does have a chance to get in some of these bidding and recruiting wars for some linebackers and defensive linemen, because that is still the front seven. I mean, that's still where we really got to target things. Yeah. If you are CU, just go after their offensive line and defensive line, and pretty much yeah. I mean, at this point, I don't even care what they're rated. Let's get those guys in here because they've been coached well and they understand what championship winning football looks like day after day, right? They understand the standard. Dude, I don't even know why that JUCO tight end didn't commit, but hopefully we can bring in some other tight ends. Yeah, man. Hey, if you got high blood pressure, just skip watching the special teams. With this team, it was absolutely a disaster this past year, and no one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about that. But I mean, similar to the offensive line, you really got only upwards to go. It can only get better. That's how bad it was. Outside of Mata. Mata only misses when he's kicking in a dirt patch. But it would be good to see him bring in some competition, Coach Prime, that is, at the kicker position. Mata's got to get a stronger leg. I would like that because we already know Mata's accurate. Hey, can you kick touchbacks consistently? Right now, we don't have a guy that can kick touchbacks consistently, which is pathetic because we play half of our games at 5,400 feet above sea level. We got to fix it. We got to get a guy in here that's got a big leg. And I'm talking about just like, the bar is low for accuracy. I'm talking about just kick it within bounds, through the end zone. Like, just don't kick it out of bounds on kickoffs, right? So that's what I'm hoping. I love CC. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Eric Morse, hope you're doing well as well. Yeah, but we got to continue to protect Shador. You're totally right, Jason. Bringing in some more offensive line competition. I will never be opposed to that. I feel like you can never have too much depth anywhere in college football. So, man, I love this point, Zion. Hopefully we can lock down BJ Green today on his visit. Yes. Yeah, he's a big-time linebacker from ASU. Was previously coached by Coach Prime during his youth football days in Atlanta. And, I mean, he was a stud. He was an absolute stud for Arizona State this past year. Was committed to Washington. Obviously, they've had some staff changes over there. And so he's, looking around a little bit. I mean, hey, I think Boulder's a nicer place than it's not Tempe. That's where Arizona's at. Scottsdale? I can't even remember where Arizona State is. Right outside the Phoenix area. But come on. Out here, you get all 4 seasons. Come out here, man. Really enjoyable. But BJ Green would be a massive get for CU. Edge player would really help solidify that edge rotation. So we would have BJ Green, Samuel Okunlowa, Keaton Wade, Arden Walker. That's kind of how I'd look at that top 4 rotation. And then that leaves room for guys like, hey, Quincy Wiggins, come in and make some noise as well. Yeah, I appreciate the love, y'all. David Talks Buffs. Did you get mad when Bass missed that kick for the Bills get off Mata's nuts? No, I didn't, because you saw that big gust of wind come halfway through the kick. I don't know why the Buffalo Bills want to continue to allow themselves to have their games impacted by the elements like that. Hey, you think when you have countless amounts of wide right, you think you would build a stadium in which you could have a retractable roof in some of these important games so that the wind isn't always blowing these close kicks wide right. Bills did this to themselves. They're going to continue to do it to themselves because they want to play in the elements, and it's cool. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine if they want to do that, especially in the regular season. Maybe this is a hot take. If the Bills have a roof over their stadium this past week, they win the game. They win the game. That's just me, though. But they do it to themselves. And now they're building a $2 billion stadium with no retractable roof on it. Yes. Go back and look. Go back and look at the goalpost, man. It's a gust of wind. You saw how that thing just, you can see. But yeah, and Mata only missed 2 kicks last year. He missed 2 kicks. One was with a high snap, and the other one was because he was kicking from a dirt patch that we've been calling out for weeks. That needed to be fixed. So I've given Rick George homework of just getting in touch with the Walton Penner group over at the Denver Broncos and just making sure that we get that same $500,000 turf or $250,000 turf in here. That's going to be just fine. It's going to be just fine. But you can't convince me otherwise that kicking from a dirt patch isn't going to significantly affect how that kick turns out. But yeah, Mata needs to improve his distance. Totally. And that's why I said Mata, hit the creatine, hit the steroids, hit the PEDs, like everything, man. Like we just need a kicker that can, you got the accuracy, just add the distance now. Hit those squats, all that. Oh yeah, thanks for bringing up this point that K Vizzy brought up earlier. Maybe it was Coach Kev. One thing that's going to impact recruiting with guys like Michigan or whatever is, if these guys enter the portal right now, say next week, and we still don't have a defensive coordinator named or hired, that it's going to be more difficult for us to get in these conversations. Now, I will say, credit to the staff, Corey Phillips, everybody, Coach Prime, the retained defensive staff for recruiting the way they have, especially in the transfer portal on the defensive side. It's quite impressive. The guys that we've brought in that are substantial upgrades over what we've had. When we don't even got a DC. I'm sure I'm sure we're just kind of promising like, hey, this is kind of the type of coach we're going after. These are the different potential hires. It's going to be one of these guys, right? It doesn't help. I think that we all kind of know that first hire that was teased by Carl Reed seems to have fell through, or else it would have been announced by now. But we need a DC. We absolutely need a DC. And again, if this was any other coach, I would be a little bit more frustrated and pissed off, right? But I approach this whole thing, man, with nothing with this team is going to go conventionally. Like that's just how I see it. But I will say, like, some of the talking points that I've seen from other outlets or on Twitter talking about, hey, well, the NFL season's going on. Guys, there are 4 teams left playing in the NFL playoffs right now. There are 28 teams that are done with their season, and we still don't have an announcement made yet. I think some of these guys, they're looking for other NFL positions totally, and I think we're just going to have to be okay that we are somebody's fallback opportunity at the NFL level, possibly for some of these guys, because otherwise I would have seen I feel like we would have seen something like this already happen. I think Colorado's a really good spot. I think there's a lot of opportunity, but like we saw this past year, this spotlight is not for everybody. No. Sean Lewis could not handle what was going on here. He could not handle the criticism and the spotlight. I don't think he was about it. Pat Shurmur dealt with the New York Giants media and fans for years. This guy was in the NFL for years. The spotlight here is nothing to him, okay? We need to make sure that we bring in somebody here where the moment is not going to be too big and they welcome it. It might be a little bit more difficult in a sense to hire here because the spotlight, like, you got to make sure that the guy is okay and he's built for this moment. Or rather, like most other college football programs, the attention, the scrutiny, the spotlight, there's only a handful of other programs that kind of have to deal with that sort of microscope on them. So I think we're going to get a really good coach. I do think. But if they're coming from the NFL level right now, I don't think they're coming as a defensive coordinator as their last position at the NFL level. That's just my take. Now, if we go after a guy like Joe Barry, I think he would be a fantastic hire because he was the defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers the last 3 years. And you guys say, well, he just got fired. Guys, coaches in the NFL get fired every 3 years. That's just how it happens. Now, it's not to the NBA's point, level where literally NBA coaches and NHL coaches are getting fired like every year or two, right? That doesn't mean that they're all bad coaches. Sometimes you You just need a change, okay? But Joe Barry's been around the game long enough to where I think that he would be a a fantastic hire, and I think he's competent, guys. He's been under Tony Dungy. He's been under Wade Phillips. He's coached for some fantastic defensive minds throughout his NFL career. But I mean, I like he was horrible. And no, he wasn't horrible. The Green Bay Packers defense was not horrible. If you look at the last few years with that defense, it was an average ranked defense. Okay. With the talent that they brought in and the money that they spent on it, yes. I say that their ceiling is definitely higher. Like they should be a top 10 defense. Okay. But to say that he's horrible, why does a guy either have to be great or horrible? Can't he just be somewhere in between? Kind of like Pat Shurmur. I feel like he's kind of somewhere in between, right? But I think he's a good fit for what we're trying to do. I don't understand it. Yes, he was part of the Lions 0-16 team. That was 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I could not perform in this job that I'm doing the same way that I was, am now. I cannot deal with these takes today. I cannot deal with these takes today. But again, I just feel like some of y'all, I think we're going to get a good coach. It sounds like they're going after somebody with a lot of NFL experience, okay? Whether that's position coaching or maybe a little bit of time at some point as a defensive coordinator. But I feel like some of the expectation is you're wanting somebody to come in here that literally is Wade Phillips. I don't think we're getting that. I just don't think we're getting that. And I think that there are some unrealistic expectations for this, for this defensive coordinator position to where you guys aren't going to be able to appreciate who's ever hired. I think that's my issue. But you're telling me a guy who's coached for 30 years, doesn't know how to do it. I'm going to fight you on that, Zion. I'm just going to fight you on that. And we saw linebackers improve, throughout the time. A lot of the teams and staffs that he was on, whether it was defensive coordinating or as a linebackers coach, their linebackers performed well. And y'all know that our linebackers were so bad we had to bring Trevor Woods down as one last year. So, anyways. Oh, see. Thank you. Thank you for telling me that, Zion. That tells me all I need to know. We're not getting an objective opinion right now. So I'm going to give you a hard time about that. But yeah, I feel like you guys are expecting Vic Fangio or Wade Phillips or, these types of guys. I don't think we're going to get that. I just don't think we are. But if we get Wade Phillips, hey, I'll give $200 to the 5430 Foundation if it is Wade Phillips. So let's make this thing fun. But all right, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. I appreciate you guys checking in. I'm trying to get these episodes on Spotify more often. So I've been listening to some of your feedback. So be on the lookout for this being uploaded on there soon. Appreciate you guys as always. And Sco Buffs.